most goals in Dynamo's history, 03, 06, and 07 MLS Cup champions, was the MLS Cup MVP in 06, does have a golden boot to his name, and he is this shy of being a top 10 all-time goal scorer in MLS. He is tied for 11th, 82. Yet nobody ever talks about this dude. It was actually the MLS Comeback Player of the Year in 04. Nobody ever talks about this guy. Is it a Houston Dynamo thing? If he had played for the Galaxy, bro, AJ, you're laughing, bro. I'm serious. Is it a Dynamo thing, or had he played for the Galaxy, would he be more talked about?
That era, Dynamo were so good. Like they actually, I would say, they ushered in kind of a new era of MLS. So the fact that he doesn't really get a lot of love on any list, really. I mean, he's not even like the top 20 of lists.
And you know why it's crazier that he's not talked about? This guy played for the U.S. men's national team. He has almost 50 caps with the men's national team, and no one talks about him. Are back again, ladies and gents. Wake Up MLS, episode number 7, lucky number 7. My name is Jose. I'm your primary host of the show. And if you haven't joined us before, let me quickly tee you up with how this works. Wake Up MLS, the only MLS-themed debate show where your ball knowledge, super important, but not anywhere close to being as important as your ability to defend your picks. We have a panel of content creators with us on the show tonight. At the time of recording, we have 3 other creators that I'll bring into the show in just 1 second. But before I do, how this works, every one of these creators has already submitted their top 10 lists of the most underrated players in MLS history. Okay, so the top 10 underrated players in MLS history, every creator has submitted their list to me. We've created a group aggregate rankings list that we're going to reveal on the show tonight. Let's go ahead and bring in our crew. Okay, so first and foremost, we have John Rivera, Twitch extraordinaire, FIFA gamer, Chicago Fire fan. John, welcome in, brother. Next, we have AJ, Atlanta United Fan TV. Welcome in, my man. And then finally, last but definitely not least, tends to be one of the more hot take personnel on this show. We have Xiaoyan of Next Gen Football and Rave Green TV. Xiaoyan, welcome in, my man. All right, boys, lighter crew for tonight. Ednan, Tom, a few of the other guys are off tonight, so we're going to be here doing what we do on a week-to-week basis for them. And tonight, I've already brought the audience in. We're ranking the top 10 underrated players in MLS history. I'll be honest, guys, right off the bat, this has to be our widest range of players I've ever seen come in terms of lists. Very, very subjective. I think it's going to lead to some debate, probably some forgotten players along the way. So if we missed one of your favorite players, don't hate us, hate our ball knowledge. At the end of the day, we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so first and foremost, let's kick it over to number 10. I want to get right to it. And look, man, as a defender myself, I think there's a lot to say about this guy. Number 10, Eddie Pope. Okay, Eddie Pope. Let me kind of reel off some stats for those who don't realize just how fantastic Eddie Pope really was. 4-time MLS All-Star, 4-time MLS Best 11, was an MLS Defender of the Year, DC United royalty, if we're being honest. If you watched Major League Soccer in the late 90s up into the 2010s, you know who Eddie Pope is, a staple, not just in MLS, but at the U.S. men's national team side as well, is a National Soccer Hall of Fame inductee. Okay, so Eddie Pope, I believe he was mentioned twice, was highest in AJ's list. So let's start there, AJ. Eddie Pope, why did he kind of stand out in any way, shape, or form for you?
Well, I think, one, being a defender, and a defender just doesn't get a whole lot of love.
Facts, bro. Why do defenders get no love?
It is that. It's because goals are sexy, and it's
Xiaoyan's raising his brow, man. I don't know what's going on over there.
But he's a guy that he's won pretty much everything, and a guy that doesn't get a whole lot of love for like best ever in MLS.
He really doesn't.
Really, any list. So I think that's why he is the highest on my list.
Xiaoyan, do you hard disagree? What's up with those facial expressions?
I do hard disagree, because if you think about like OG center backs in MLS and like some of the greatest ones, Eddie Pope's probably on most people. Like, you don't even need to have watched MLS to know, oh, Eddie Pope, like for the US and for out of all, like, I think the part where makes me I hard disagree is what you were saying earlier, Jose. Like you were like he's a Hall of Famer, like he's gone the recognition.
How many fans
Underrated.
know that though? Like I'm looking at those
Right.
stats because I'm willing to bet that most fans aren't aware of Eddie Pope and aren't aware of all the accolades he's brought in over the years.
If I were to pick a defender, it wouldn't be Eddie Pope. That's all I'm saying. If out of all like the maybe like top 10 greatest center backs, like Eddie Pope's probably one of the top 3. Like that's the thing is that's why I don't think it's a bad
So,
shot. I
exactly
like where AJ's
that.
going. No,
But
but
it's
I like
exactly
where you're.
that though. We go.
What do you mean? No.
It's
But
okay.
I want to see.
Yeah, so it's exactly that. It's like if he doesn't even have the he's not in the conversation of best ever MLS players. Like when we did our list, he had no conversation in it. He wasn't part of it. No one ever said his name. So
It's because
it's one of those
Chad
things
Marshall's
that...
just clear, lads. It's just simple.
No. But to be
it's
fair,
true. It's true.
When we did make that like best ever list, though, we were really listing attackers. Like it's difficult to include defenders on a list where you think best ever because you just genuinely don't see defenders getting a lot of love, and this is unfortunately the way it is. It's football. I mean, you have your world class defenders that everyone praises and loves, but at the end of the day, in a league that is so young, what you remember more is players that have a bigger name, a bigger recognition on that, and it's just one of the names that's not forgotten. So I mean, I don't mind him being on the list. It's just, I can see I can see both points, but at the same time, like defenders don't get a lot of love, so I would agree with him being on the list.
But here's the thing: one of the biggest personalities in all of U.S. soccer coverage in general is Alexi Lawless, a defender. And granted, he's probably more known for his takes than anything else than his gameplay. That's probably true. But he still gets mentioned so often, right? As like, an all-time defending great, one who established what it meant to be the rock of the position and the team. I'm kind of with AJ. I just don't ever, as great as Eddie Pope is, right? And won the first ever MLS Cup. I don't, maybe because it's so dated, right? I just don't hear enough about him. Like, and John's points also make sense. Defenders don't get any love. But dude, I mean, we've mentioned Chad Marshall on this show at least 2 or 3 times. Granted, most of it might have been Xiao Yan. I mean, it could have been, right? But at the end of the day, he's been mentioned before. And Eddie Pope, this is the first cameo he's ever made on Wake Up MLS.
The only reason I would give you guys Eddie Pope being underrated is just for the pure fact that he played in MLS in the OG days. That's it. But outside that, I think even if you didn't even watch MLS in the OG days, like myself, and I actually don't know MLS that well pre-2010, I know at least about Eddie Pope, and I don't even know much about the U.S. men's national team history, and I'd argue he's probably the greatest USA center back.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, I think he's arguably DC's greatest player as well.
No, there's another player for DC, but we'll talk about
probably. Yeah. But it's also this. It's like, to your point, Jose, it's, he's not visible. I think that's the difficulty for him is that
it could be,
like Alexi Lawless, he's always chatting shit, but Eddie Pope, almost invisible. Like he's really just not even in the cachet.
Let me ask you, do you know of players like, and maybe this is even a question for anybody in the audience, right? Let us know in the comments down below. But when you think about big names or big time defenders in MLS history, I think a lot of them are old school defenders, guys like Marcelo Balboa and Jeff Agus, and again, Alexi Lawless, right? Like you think about those guys who kind of established, what it means to be a defender in Major League Soccer in the earliest of days. I think that whole, and maybe that's what it is, the era, right? That whole pool of defenders doesn't get any love. They're just never, ever, ever talked about. Like I never hear them. There's so much content that reigns, that runs free on sites like YouTube, and I see all these lists. I never once see their name come up. So it's just something to think on. I think it's awesome that he came into this list. I wouldn't say he's overrated though. I would, because he's just not talked about, not discussed. Mm-hmm. Right. So I don't know, my 2 cents on it, but Eddie Pope, massive shout because he's not talked about and because of what he's accomplished. The definition of underrated. All right, moving on. Number 9, and this one everyone should know. If you don't know, we're going to have a problem. Kobe Jones. Who here does not know who Kobe Jones is? Everybody? Cool. All right. We don't have a problem. We're good. All right. Kobe Jones. In terms of the list, I believe John had him the highest. John, why do you think Kobe Jones deserves to be a top 3 shout on this list? I think he's actually like fairly known and talked about.
I mean, outside of the people that know the spectrum of MLS, how often do you hear him talked about?
No, and in U.S. soccer.
Yeah, U.S. Soccer Galaxy fans know him really well. I feel like, I mean, I don't know. I think there's
He's also a pundit too, so kind of like adding to the Alexi Lawless point. So that kind of does help with
I don't know. I just
understanding who they are.
I haven't heard a lot of him in like I guess the recent time. So I guess in terms of that, that's why I just thought of it because like I said, it's one of those things where it out of sight, out of mind, right? You know, you don't like I don't particularly watch him nor have heard much of his takes, so it's not like I'm out there looking for him. So that's one of the reasons why I put him higher. I don't know.
Did you watch the World Cup, the 2022 Men's World Cup? On Fox, not on.
No, I didn't.
Okay, yeah, he was he was one of the pundits for that, and I think he still does MLS for Apple TV today, correct?
I think so. I'm not
I
sure.
think he does. Yeah, I think he's one of the analysts. But yeah, I mean, Kobe Jones. I mean, I think during his time though, he was lauded like probably one of the.
I was gonna say during when he
best
played,
players in the league.
Yeah,
yeah,
he was very highly praised.
Yeah, marketed heavily. I don't know if he should be on the underrated list because he's in his day.
I think we've taken 2 L's on the first 2. That's my take.
I'm telling you, man, it was a wide range of players, like just all over the board. This was easily
the only way I am accepting these 2 is purely for the fact because they played in MLS back in the heyday. That is 1.0. Yeah, that's the only reason I'm cool with it. But Kobe Jones and Eddie Pope, we're literally talking about the best striker and the best defender in that era.
I would say Jones is more of a midfielder, but like attacking midfielder. But I think that and you're right, both are National Soccer Hall of Fame inductees. Like, and so when you think about that,
I don't know how you can call it under. That's for me. I can't classify that as underrated. I'm sorry, guys.
Maybe that's a definite. I mean, maybe that's just where the state of soccer in America is. Right? Is like with how great those players were, and you think about comparing this to other leagues across the world. How often do Premier League fans talk about the greats of the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, whatever it may be.
But it's like saying we know Pele's one of the GOATs. We know Messi's one of the GOATs. We know Ronaldo's one of the GOATs. And like saying, oh, well, Pele would be underrated if he played in MLS now. I'm not saying we are saying that, but it's kind of like what we're jiving towards because, oh, they're not getting the recognition now in modern MLS and like this and that because, the glitz and glamour, now MLS is so modernized. But I think at the time, both of those players were pretty highly rated in MLS at the time. I think they both were. So, like, if you compare them to what they were going up against at that time, I don't think either of those 2 players are underrated. I'm sorry.
But to the point is, did you have them on your list at all when we did the?
No, I didn't have them. But this one, I'm gonna
see. That's that's again that's kind of where I was basing my point on.
I want to clarify then what I consider underrated.
Okay,
especially so for me, when we think about MLS, when you guys think about players that are very highly rated in MLS, and we've already mentioned 2 of them that fall under the spectrum, they're American-based players. MLS glazes the American players the most. So I want to think of players. No, but it's true. It is true.
It is true. It's the same as when Xiaoyan said that every American player is overrated.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in our eyes anyway, and especially in MLS, they're gonna rate the American players more. And these 2 are players that, especially because they were American, they're one of the best American players. They're very highly rated. Maybe someone I wouldn't have minded if let's say we threw him on the list is maybe a Valderrama. Like that would have been someone like, in my opinion, I think. For someone that came into MLS, I would consider that a bit more.
You can argue Valderrama. Again, look, he's not a National Hall of Fame inductee, but you can argue Valderrama was more known than the 2 guys we've already had. Just for a number of reasons, the iconicism of his hair, of the way he played as a midfielder, how silky smooth he was.
But how much praise did he get in MLS?
Dude, a ton. He was in the league forever.
But we've seen so many big names.
Bro, you literally you had a great point. You were on an epic rant right there, and then you shit on yourself by throwing
off.
Okay, sorry. Okay, maybe we'll digress. Valderrama was maybe a bad example, but because my list, Jose. So I don't want to spoil some of the people that I said.
Yeah.
But a lot of the players I mentioned are people that they're not Hall of Famers. They never won MVP awards, but they've done the business. They've won the accomplishments. They were key players to successful teams, and they do have a lot of individual accolades that just kind of go under the radar. And for these 2 players, arguably Eddie Pope is arguably the greatest player in DC United history, and Kobe Jones is arguably one of the greatest players in Galaxy history. So it's are these guys underrated?
Yeah, that's a fair shout from that perspective. What they were lauded for, and maybe.
But let's digress on the Valderrama thing. I was trying to use that. That was a bad example. I was trying because like that's all I could think of from back then. But when I would say a defender that would be underrated, that's American, maybe Jimmy Conrad would have been a better shout than Eddie Pope.
Yeah, but I will also say a lot of Americans think that Jimmy was top 5, right? I still think when people talk about and again maybe it goes back to the visibility thing. Jimmy Conrad's still very visible. He's still
that's what I was about to say.
No, he's like the biggest figurehead.
Yeah, he's very out there, especially in the social media like age now because they did YouTube. Like he was out there, and he still is out there. So he's like one of the most visibly seen defenders, I guess, of that era that you could classify as people might rate him a little bit more because of just who he is as a person. You know what I mean? Like, because he's just out there and you can see it a lot more. So
yeah, 100%. I forget what the name of his show is, but yeah, he does things with Charlie Davies now. He's doing a ton with what's it called?
Is it State of Soccer or something like that?
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
I wanted
Charlie Davies, Heath Pierce.
Yes, Heath Pierce. That's the other one.
Yeah, I got beef with Heath Pierce.
Hold on.
Crazy
what beef do you have?
He's like the nicest guy. You got beef with
Heath
Pierce?
Dude, it's a long time ago, but I remember Heath Pierce and me he was supposed to come on at the time when I was podcasting. He was supposed to come on my podcast, and then he just cancels last minute, like super. Like, we're about to start recording, and then but like it was just kind of like in a little bit of a. I still have the screenshots. It's bad because he unsent the messages. He unsent the messages like a couple hours later because that's how he knew it was kind of bad, kind of the way he responded to me. Especially because I was a kid. This was like 3 years ago or so. And like granted, I was 21, but like I was younger, especially compared to him. But I was like, he's like, we will need to reschedule. Like he said, I don't remember what he said. And I said something like, well, I guess that's fine. That's how I responded with like, but obviously text gets misinterpreted. And he's like, I mean, if you're just going to keep like, how he said it was somewhere along the lines of, well, I guess if you're going to say that, I'm just going to cancel. Like, I don't want to be on here and all that. And I was like, okay. And like, there was more to it. Maybe I could send the screenshot in the group chat, but like,
dude,
he just goes
I'd
off
be down
on
to see
me.
that. That would be epic.
Yeah.
He just goes off on
me.
me.
Let's just air this laundry. Yeah, totally.
Air it out.
Like he was following me and everything. And then after that, I didn't say anything. Like I just kind of was like, because I was a little bit annoyed because I was like, we set a date in like at advance, like 2 weeks in advance. He cancels like right before we're about to like literally 5 minutes. He's like, something came up. And he's like, that's like, this is how you're supposed. He's like, that's life. And I was like, okay.
Maybe he kind of like, hey man, like, I didn't plan for this, but that's life. It just kind of happens. I mean, you were also 21, so I'm sure you probably would react a little bit differently today. But either way, bro, I mean, look, if Heath Pierce, if you're watching this, Xiaoyan says sorry, and he forgives me.
I don't say sorry. I don't. Oh, man.
He's already burning bridges with the rest of the crew. You know what I mean? Just cut everyone off.
No, man, it's kind of insane. But look, Heath Pierce, this show does not have beef with you, so I don't want that to be misconstrued. With that said, look, Eddie Pope, Kobe Jones, they are some crazy shouts, and I think the next one is going to make us all feel a little bit better about this list truly being a list of underrated talent. Okay, so moving on, number 8, Steven Beitashour. I think first off, boys, 2 out of the first 3. Granted, we're not in the top half of this list yet, but 2 out of the first 3 being defenders. I'm locked in, man. As a defender myself, we got zero fucking love. I think keepers and defenders, as a public service announcement, deserve to be included in more of these rankings and more of these lists because we're the unsung heroes on the pitch, if we're being honest. All right, moving into Beitashour. So, dude, I mean, talk about a fucking massive career, almost 300 appearances MLS total. The guy has 17 matches played in playoffs alone. I think most people would probably call him a Rapids. Would you consider a Rapids grade, or like where would we really put his legacy in terms of a team? Because he played for a few.
San Jose or LAFC.
He's played for Rapids, LAFC, Toronto, Vancouver, San Jose. San Jose being the earliest of all of them, and maybe that's I think he spent probably the majority of it. I would say Rapids and San Jose. He had the longest.
I'd say Rapids is the least one, as someone that watches his career closely.
Yeah, man, he's your boy. He's Iranian, so yeah. I mean,
yeah. So Xiaoyan, why is Beitashour underrated as a player?
All right, first and foremost, it's because he's Iranian. I just want to put that out there.
Okay, bro.
I'm being straight up about it, man. If he
You
decided
think
to play
every
for
Iranian player is underrated, though?
yeah, we are.
Not all of them, bro. Not all of
Okay,
them.
who's rated? Tell me one that
Taremi.
actually gets the.
I think
he does-
Azmoon's getting love right now.
Okay, yes, Azmoon does. Okay, out of all of them, I can agree with that. Dude, John, I don't want to fucking hear it from you about Taremi is rated. That is horse shit. You guys, literally, Manchester United, the club he supports, you see it all over the
Hoyland's got
background
more
of his
future.
wall. They
Hoyland's
wanted
got more
him.
future.
I don't want to hear it right now.
Hoyland's got more future. But
No,
okay,
dude,
well,
Hoyland- dude,
this
I
is not
can't
this is
wait.
not
I
Premier League.
can't-
This is not the Premier League
I
debate show. We'll
can't
talk about that at
wait.
a later date.
No. All I'm saying is, you guys wanted to get Harry Kane. All right, you guys wanted to get Harry Kane. Okay, you can't afford Harry Kane. That's fine. But statistically, Mehdi is the second best option to Harry Kane. But you're like, nah, he's Iranian. We don't need him. So we're gonna
Poor
buy a
man's
guy
Harry
that's
I'm
Kane's
sure
not
hurt.
that's
good enough,
why.
man.
I'm sure that's why.
No, that is why.
Hoyland
So why
just
is
has more potential.
why is Beta Jour better than Taremi?
Oh well, Taremi's Beta Shore's not better than Taremi.
All
Funnily enough, they never
more
they-
underrated. More underrated.
The thing is, what Mehdi has done in the past 3 years is insane. I mean, scoring 20 plus goals, getting 10 plus assists, like so basically 30 plus goal contributions for 3 to 4 straight years in a top league in Europe, scoring a couple of goals in the World Cup and things like that. It's just so dude, Darwin Nunez did it for 1 year. He got a big move to Liverpool. We saw Luis Diaz do it for 2 years. He got a big move to Liverpool. We saw the one guy Wolf sign. I forgot what his name was. The only thing
Fabio
I can
Silva?
maybe agree with is age, but we've seen so many. I forgot. He's the one with like the floofy hair. He
Fabio
signed.
Silva.
Yeah, Fabio Silva. Sorry, I didn't hear you. But like I get it, the age thing, but we've seen like Benzema, Giroud, like all these players peak when they were late. So what's the excuse why not to take the risk on him? Because he's Iranian.
I wouldn't say it's
Not why.
wrong.
Different
That's not
profiles of
why.
players too. I mean, Giroud, old man skills. You know, like he never relied on pace.
Okay.
Benzema, yeah, he linked up plays. You know,
Okay,
right?
the
He just-
Tremi is all those things. I don't see what your point is.
I mean,
Hoyland's got a future, man. That's all I'm saying.
Oh
Hoyland's
yeah,
Names
yeah,
are
he's
big.
got a wait. Hoyland's got a future
team.
on the medical
Look,
room.
The direction
In the
of the
medical
team is
room, yes, he's got a huge
different.
future there.
It's a completely different direction of the team.
Oh,
They
that's
wanted to
cool,
go a
man.
different way.
Enjoy not having a striker for the next 6 months, getting the Martial regen, and enjoy yourselves.
Hey, we got Martial and the regen. What do you mean?
Yeah, I know. You guys-
it's going
they'll both
great.
be
It's
chilling
going
in the
great,
medical room.
fantastic.
Okay,
All right, anyway,
but to go back to the point.
Anyway, we digress. We digress.
Yep.
Okay, to Beta Shore, you know, he was number 1 on my list for obvious reasons. I think he
Do
is.
not say Iranian.
I will say for Beta Shore, in my opinion, I think he's the greatest right back in MLS history. Every team he's gone to, he's been like he has won trophies, excluding Colorado. But what can the guy do at this point?
I mean,
Every
the
team
the
he's-
LAFC stint was also like, I don't know, the greatest fullback in history, the greatest
Yeah,
right back,
yeah.
sorry, in history.
Yeah, okay, name me a better one then.
One of the longest standing ones, 100%. This
Dude,
could be a
he's-
topic for another episode, 100%. Like
It
just,
would
just
be, I
even the
think.
outside backs, just the outside backs. You think he's number 1?
In my eyes, I think he's one. Yeah.
So then
I
why
think
is he
he's-
underrated if he's number 1?
Because no one gives. Because my point exactly. None of you guys rate him. Well, I think this. This is just me. I am part of the
Oh, you're the
The-
hipster? Okay, okay.
not hipster. I am part of the anomaly in this because obviously I rate him, but to the general public, he is not rated. He is one, dude. He has won a supporter shield at the San Jose Earthquakes. He's part of the Goonies squad, arguably one of the Goonies Never Die squad. He was arguably one of the key players to that team. He went to Toronto FC, won a treble with Giovinco Altidore, the guys you guys glazed. He won a treble with them. He went to LA. He went to LAFC. A new
First of all, there's no
expansion
glazing
team.
with Giovinco. That's just him.
Yeah,
bro.
that's just
he
him.
really did
He's
so
him.
much. How can you not
Okay,
rave
you
about
guys,
that player?
you guys munched off Giovinco. Great,
Okay,
good for you
bro.
guys. And
Who's
then he
more-
went to
Who's more underrated? Would you say Beta Jour? And granted, I would say DeMarcus Beasley is
Mhm.
less rated than Beta Jour. probably because he didn't win an MLS Cup. But I think that like at the end of the day, he's probably just as good of a defender.
But DeMarcus Beasley's best stints weren't in the MLS. They were in
Europe.
Europe.
Pretty good stints. Chicago Fire was whatever.
But I'm
right?
saying, but like it's like the same thing with Dempsey. It's like the same thing with Clint Dempsey. But like I'm sorry, but like Beta Shore, he deserves to be on the list because he's won ever he's won. He's played in MLS in the early 2010 eras. He's still doing it now. He was a part of he took a pretty bad, he was part of a Colorado Rapids team that finished in first place 2 years ago in the Western Conference. Like he's been part of key successful defensive lines in MLS.
I will. Okay, look, he's got longevity in all of those stats, backing him. He has won
everything you can win in MLS.
That's fair. That's fair. And then, look, there's a reason that, Rapids are still re-signing him as recently as 2022, right? Like, at the end of the day, like, there's so much going for him. I just think that with how long he's been around, granted, it's not like Eddie Pope or Kobe Jones. Those guys are like lauded right throughout history. Technically, if you know MLS, if you know U.S. soccer, those personalities are known pretty damn well.
Dude, who the hell knows Steven Betashore? Yep. See, there you go. He's underrated. Done and done.
I was about to say, I don't even know who the fuck he is.
And there you go.
Being honest.
All right, moving on.
The crazy part is he has more trophies in the Chicago Fire in the past like 10 years.
That's fast.
Okay.
That's big fact. As a fucking organization,
that's not hard to do, but
yeah, that's.
I was about to say it's not difficult to do.
I mean, he has more trophies than Atlanta United.
He's made more playoffs than we have as a club. Okay, you're not really. I'm just saying. Much there. You're not really saying much there.
What do you mean? I'm not saying much. I don't want to hear it.
He's all a little bit of like a journeyman, right? I mean, at the end, I don't know. At the end of the day, like he's definitely worked his way around the league for those trophies. But I hate the trophy argument because it's a team accolade, right? How much control does any one individual player have over their team's ability to win a trophy?
But the thing is, one time is a fluke.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say one time is a fluke, sure, but every team he's gone to, he has been. That's my point. Every team he's gone to, he's been successful.
I was just gonna rebuttal his point though. He said that. I mentioned when we talked about Nick Romando how one player doesn't win titles, and then you guys told me yeah. So I don't know.
I don't understand what you're arguing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I like the shout. I think you're right 100%. Steven Betashore should be higher in this list based on Shayan's argument. I just don't like he's won everywhere. It's okay, cool. I mean, so did the other players that were on the pitch with him that he shared locker rooms with. At the end of the day, it's a team accomplishment. There's some stock that goes into it. I don't know how much but
I think that's what helps his stock is that every team he's been a part of, not only does the team agree that he was a key part of the defensive figure, not only was he an example on and off the pitch, I think the point of that he won ever he went, it's not a coincidence. I believe won a Canadian championship with Vancouver, won the Supporter Shield with San Jose, won the Supporter Shield with LAFC. He won the treble with Toronto FC.
That was the most impressive one by far. Granted, it was Toronto and it was a treble, so it makes sense. The domestic treble, anyway. Okay, look, we all feel pretty good about Betashore. Everything that Shayan just mentioned, though, you're probably going to be a little upset at some of the names that that come up ahead of him. But it is what it is, bro. It is what it is. Like you said, very, very underrated. All right, moving on. I'm not going to say his full name, but you guys should know who he is. Preki. I'm not going to. I mean, John, how would you say this, bro?
I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try.
Predrag.
Who is this?
Radoslavljevic. I don't know. That Preki.
Oh, Preki, our assistant coach?
Preki.
Yeah, our assistant coach.
Yes. But at the end of the day, most unless you were watching MLS at a certain point, most opponents probably won't know who he is. But at the end of the day, had stints with, get this, the Miami Fusion and primarily Sporting Kansas City, where many of his lauded accolades really kind of come from. 242 matches played, boys. A ton of action in MLS. The Miami Fusion year in 2001 stands out to me as like a huge fucking anomaly. I don't know why he went from Kansas City to Miami, then back to Kansas City. But Preki, at the end of the day, a ton to really kind of speak from. John had him high in his list. John, why do you think, bro, I'm not going to lie, I didn't even watch Preki play. Why is he so high on your list?
Just the goals.
That's it?
Yeah, literally. I mean, he had a lot of longevity.
Yeah, he had 80 goals.
Yeah, but there's a longevity. He won an MLS Cup. Supporters Shield as well in the same year.
Low-key, I
Won
think this is
Open
a
Cup
weak sauce
2004.
pick.
I don't know.
But nobody talks about Preki though. Like he's never been, again, another never cameo, never on this show. So like technically it's a great pick.
Yeah, 2-time MLS MVP.
He's the only player to win the MVP award back-to-back years. That is spoken about sometimes if you talk about like historian moments in MLS.
Sure, but that's the thing. Is he discussed?
I don't know. I feel like This Week in MLS has done this exact like type of video and segment before. I don't think I've ever seen Preki enter the fold. Like I don't know, man. I mean, and maybe look, recency bias is undefeated. It's undefeated. Yeah. At the end of the day, you can't really beat it. And so we think about Preki and how long ago, him coming in and starting the league in '96, 1.0 clubs. It's like tough. You know what I mean? Like, again, it goes back to Eddie Pope, to Kobe Jones. All these guys had the accolades where you're like, how the hell have I not heard about this guy before? And it's just because Major League Soccer is still so new to everybody. I just don't think many fans will know who Preki is. There's probably people Googling on their phone as they watch this video. Guaranteed.
Okay, so the reason I say a weak sauce pick, I want to clarify. I don't think this is a bad pick. Definitely compared to the Eddie Pope, Kobe Jones pick, I think this is a lot better. But again, it's just kind of, for me, the reason I don't like these picks is because it's a lot more down to these are players from the past. Like, they're way too in the past. Preki did get some recognition for the back in his day. Like, as I said, won 2 back-to-back MVP awards, but that should be spoken about a lot more than it is advertised because he's the only player to ever do it.
I think he also had 2 golden boots, I believe, as well. I don't know if they were back in those years, but he's got 2 of those. So, like, he was a scorer. 80 goals.
And so it's not back-to-back. It's that he won it in '97 and then he won it in 2003, which that's a big span.
I mean, sorry, not back. He's the only player to win 2 MLS MVP awards. I apologize. Yeah,
maybe it's his stint as the Chivas USA assistant coach, and maybe it's like, dude, you know what?
Yeah,
we can't talk about this fucking has-been. You know what I mean? I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I mean, he has all the stat lines to really kind of be impressed with. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame a year before Kobe Jones and Eddie Pope were, but nobody fucking talks about him. Nobody. Like I'd never hear Preki brought up in greatest whatever conversation.
And he scored against Brazil.
Scorer. Yeah, but he's a goal scorer. You know, these guys are lauded. They're talked about everywhere, and we have yet to talk about this man on the show. So anyway, it's just a crazy shout. But if anybody wants to learn more about Preki, I mean, look, just reeling off his stats really quick: 2-time MLS MVP, 2-time Golden Boot, all-time best 11, that's again an MLS all-time best 11 shout. That's fucking crazy. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2010. Okay, so MLS Cup in 2000, a Supporters Shield, an Open Cup, and as a coach, he's been given an MLS Coach of the Year. So like you think about all of those things, right? As a player, as a coach, does have all the accolades that you want.
He's actually a pretty good coach too.
Who's he coach again right now?
He's our assistant coach.
Yeah, and you would say he's good based on where the Sounders are today?
No. No, he's been an assistant coach in many places. Like, I've heard, this is just what I've heard in the rumor mill from the places he's been the assistant coach of, and I've just heard he's done a really good job everywhere he's gone. And I think he's probably itching to get become a full-time coach.
If they fire Brian, is he like the next one up?
I know some Sounders fans are kind of into that idea.
Really?
But again, I don't know if he will be.
The idea of Schmetzer leaving is like,
yeah,
I don't know how to feel about it yet.
You know what that reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Klopas with us, though. Like, Klopas has been an assistant for a long time. He's been jumping around from being interim to assistant. He just doesn't.
Hey, I mean, look, Seattle's produced a lot of assistants to full-time coaches. John knows, Ezra Hendrickson, and AJ and Gonzo Pineda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Seattle connection. I mean, I don't know. I think there's you guys do. I mean, honestly, I can't even like debate it. Like, Sounders have had some great coaching staff over the years. This season's kind of I don't know if it's an anomaly or if just Brian's just lost the locker room or whatever it might be.
That's past the point. I was just saying that I've heard
he doesn't want to get into it today. Yeah. That's fair.
I don't.
All right, guys, we'll move on. Preki at 7. And look, considering how much he's won, guys, just there needs to be more MLS content out there that talks about this man, because at the end of the day, goal scorer through and through, one of the greatest to ever enter Major League Soccer. All right, number 6, a player that everyone should know. We've talked about it on this show before. I personally had him really high on my list, but you guys didn't fucking agree. So here we are now. Nick Rimando Nick Raimondo. This guy is a hell of a shout, man. I talk about a keeper who's. Can we argue that he's almost single-handedly won his team MLS Cup? Like, I feel like you could actually make that argument with a guy like Nick Raimondo as a keeper,
In 09?
which is rare. You know what I mean? Like a keeper doing that for you. Guy was a shot stopper extraordinaire. How many appearances? 500 plus. And the guy, and look, for someone who was built as a 5'9" dad bod, dude, that guy was a crazy, insane keeper athletically. So I think I personally had him. I probably had him the highest. I think it was a tie between me and. No, I had him 2 spots higher than John. So it was me. I think at the end of the day with Nick Raimondo, I mean, the stats kind of speak for themselves, boys. Is he the greatest player in Real Salt Lake history?
I'd argue he's the greatest goalkeeper in MLS history.
And that's what it is. It's like he gets constantly talked about. So in my mind, he's not underrated.
By who?
Everybody.
Basically, any list that you see about goalkeepers, about greatest MLS, like he makes it. He is.
I was going to say
maybe that's it. I don't see enough love for keepers. I mean, that's probably what.
Yeah,
it is.
I was going to say if I were going to include a goalkeeper, he's not the one I would have included. I respect Nick Raimondo, but I know he's the greatest goalkeeper in MLS history.
I have one more. I had 2 keepers on my list, and I'll share who they were in honorable mentions.
I had 2.
Nick Raimondo was high for me, but there was one more that I thought was very underrated and has so many stats that most fans probably just don't know about. And he's ventured across, I think, 3 different clubs. But I mean, with Raimondo, look, at the end of the day, there's stats kind of just speak for itself. In terms of just overall, but AJ, let me ask you this: when you say talked about everywhere, can you I don't know, can you reference any kind of content or who is talking about him? At the end of the day, I just feel like MLS keepers, especially in this league, just get zero love. Everybody from Nick Raimondo to Tim Howard to Kevin Hartman to literally anybody.
Yeah, I think it's like MLSsoccer.com, like their list that they compile. The anytime you're looking at history of the league, like the saves that Nick Raimondo's made, like the MLS YouTube, they'll show those as well. It's just one of these things where Raimondo gets love. I don't see it. I don't see it like this high. Yeah, I think there's other keepers that probably get less any exposure really. So
the only thing that I will say that makes Nick Raimondo underrated, or what was an underrated aspect, is the same thing as Chad Marshall. Those 2 are the greatest in their position, but how would they never get called up to the U.S. men's national team?
Bias, personal bias, coaching bias, whatever it may be.
That's where I would say they're underrated. But in regards to an MLS factor, I just can't see it.
And Chad Marshall's not the best defender to ever play in MLS. And by the way, I think you said it, but you probably said it. You probably spinned it as Eddie Pope is what most people would call the greatest MLS defender. But you did say now, like 2 different greatest defenders in league history.
I said arguably. We can re-roll the tape. I said Eddie Pope is arguably one of the greatest defenders in MLS history. I didn't say he is.
I guess that's okay. That's fair. That's fair. We'll go back. We have receipts, right? All this is being recorded. But I think that Raimondo, it's just for me. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm factoring in the fact that other American keepers have gotten more love over the years. I think even while he was at his height in the league, I still feel like there were plenty of other players, position aside, that get talked about way more. And I just think it's because keepers get zero love.
It's funny too, because I would say Raimondo's underrated in regards to people who aren't as enlightened, I'll say it that way, would argue that Tim Howard and Matt Turner are clear of him in MLS.
What?
For example.
What?
No, I would say because they play for I think
the U.S. men's national team. Yeah, exactly. And so it's that. So basically, because of his profile, Raimondo, with what you're saying, the dad bod, just not a conventional keeper. Exactly. So in that, if he was selected for a U.S. men's national team, it's just people are scratching their heads. There's a lot of kind of agitation.
Because he did have calls, he just didn't play.
Yeah,
he just didn't play that much.
It's the same thing with Fry. He got a call up.
Yeah.
I just think how many people know Nick Raimondo was the first, I don't know if it's keeper or player that broke the 200 mark in terms of wins in MLS, 514 appearances. I don't know. Like I hear, I don't know. Sometimes I'll even hear Kyle Beckerman shouts before I ever hear Nick Rimando. Even when you think about or like I never like when you think about RSL greats like Nick Rimando. He should be the top of the list every single time, but because
he is
for
the great.
some fans, he's a great. But I'm saying he should be the greatest and on every list for the
He
club.
should be the greatest goalkeeper, greatest RSL player. Like that's not even a question.
And you I still see opinions on the internet, right? Where it's like, they'll rate other players just because they're field players. And it's just like, dude, I don't know, man. I think everything from college soccer all the way through his MLS
next
career.
Episode, Jose, whip on the goalkeeper gloves in honor.
The top 10 keepers. Oh God, it's another one where I think it really depends on who you've been watching in Major League Soccer. And dude, there's so much to uncover there. Arguably, our entire top 10 for the underrated players should have been all keepers.
It would have been incredibly uninteresting, I think. But
yeah. But like based on like who gets zero love and is not talked about by the definition of underrated, that probably could have been very accurate. But Nick Rimando, I still think deserves more love, and that's why him being middle of this list, honestly, to me, is not a bad shout. I think he should be talked about a whole lot more than he is as a shot stopper. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm romantic. All right. Now, boys, moving into our top 5, I do have, like I said before the show started, some, we've been doing in past shows, right? Imagery for these players. Everyone here should be very aware of who these players are, what they've, kind of virtually done. Some are really interesting, but let's kind of jump into it. All right. So number 5 on this list, number 5, Brian Ching. I think Brian Ching, bro, I still remember watching him in MLS Cup finals, man. I think I think if you're a Houston Dynamo fan, he's probably one of the only players you can really talk about in your history, like one of the few. You know what I mean? There aren't that many. That club's like, I don't know. I'm willing to bet if those fans are showing up to the stadium right now, that they probably don't even know who Brian Ching is. But Brian Ching is a very widely touted striker. Yes, Shaya.
Fun fact, I met Brian Ching.
Where'd you meet Brian Ching?
At the Steve Zakuani charity match back in 2000, I want to say 17 or 18. I still have a photo with him. If I can find it, I'll pull it up for the boys.
Yeah. How many MLS Cups does Brian Ching have?
I want to say 2.
Yeah, I think it's 2. And this was glory days of Houston Dynamo, guys. So for those who aren't aware, most goals in Dynamo's history, actually it's 3. 03, 06, and 07 MLS Cup champions, was the MLS Cup MVP in 06. Does have a golden boot to his name, and he is this shy of being a top 10 all-time goal scorer in MLS. He is tied for 11th, 82 through 2012. So just above Preki in terms of goals tallied on this list. Yet nobody ever talks about this dude. It was actually the MLS Comeback Player of the Year in 04. Nobody ever talks about this guy, Brian Ching. Is it a Houston Dynamo thing? If he had played for the Galaxy, bro, AJ, you're laughing, bro. I'm serious. Is it a Dynamo thing?
I know.
Or had he played for the Galaxy, would he be more talked about?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I'm just loving the FC Dallas hate on the Dynamo. That's really what it is. But yeah, I think it's probably that. I mean, there's he's not a Galaxy, so it's that era. Dynamo were so good. Like they actually, I would say they ushered in kind of a new era of MLS. So the fact that he doesn't really get a lot of love on any list, really. I mean, he's not even like the top 20 of lists. Like,
I was going to say, this is probably our best shout of all the players we've said, like in regards to the oldie days outside of Beta Short. This is probably our best pick.
and let's see. AJ had him highest. I had him next highest. So like,
I didn't even have him on the list, but you guys were totally spot on, and I should have had him on my list. I totally agree.
And you know why it's crazier that he's not talked about? This guy played for the U.S. men's national team. He has almost 50 caps with the men's national team, and no one talks about him. Like,
I didn't even know that, to be fair.
Yeah, dude. Like, and I remember watching him in like I don't know, what was it? Was it 07 MLS Cup? When did they play the Revs?
It would be
this is like
it'd be like 06 or 7.
Oh probably. Yeah, it was one of the 2 later ones. It wasn't 03. But I remember Ching and Twellman being the 2 guys, the prolific goal scorers that were lining it up in MLS, and they were going head to head. This is when Ching has a lot more to say when it comes to his USMNT career than Twellman does, because Twellman he only got a few looks here and there. But dude, I mean, he won the Gold Cup with the U.S. men's national team. If I'm correct too. I don't know how much he actually played in that one, but man, there's so much to love about Brian Ching, and dude, US as many US men's national team stands as exist on the internet today. Nobody talks about this guy in terms of greatest strikers in MLS history. It's wild.
If we're gonna talk about that non-Iranian love, I'm gonna talk about that non-Asian love.
I was gonna actually bring that up.
Facts, though. That's facts.
As a Hawaiian descendant, I think that
exactly.
could play a role. Yeah, sorry, go
Absolutely.
AJ. I didn't mean to steal your.
I mean, you stole the but it's all good. I mean, that's the point. That is the point. Is that I mean, because he doesn't have a traditional American name. He doesn't have all that. It's
what,
it's
Brian?
obvious.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Right. I'm sure the next question will be like, oh, but what's your real name?
No, I agree with you, man. I agree with you. I don't know. Like I said, also different era, right? Eras. When you do lists like this, eras always play a massive part in how players are viewed. And Major League Soccer was still it's in its infancy now, but it was very much in its infancy back then. And yeah, there's probably some some underlying bias there, like AJ spelled out. But I don't know, man. He deserves so much more love. And I want to hear some Houston fans in the comments, man. Like, this guy's royalty. And I will say there are more Houston fans talking about Ache Ache right now than they are, or Carrasquilla than I ever heard fans talking about Brian Ching, which is wild to me. Like, I think that those guys are so new and fresh to the team. I don't know, that this guy needs to be, like, again, royalty. And I think doesn't he have a soccer themed bar down in Houston? I'm pretty sure he does. They were talking about it during the World Cup. I don't hear
Texas got all the cool stuff, man.
Yeah, as long as you can put up with 115-degree heat in the summers, you're good, bro. You're good.
Dude, I'm Persian, man. That's like my bread and butter.
All right, boys. Brian Ching, number 5. Number 4. I think this one's going to be good because we're all very well aware of who he is, how impactful he is to his team. Let's jump into it. Number 4, Diego Chara. Diego Chara. I think this one's actually this could be hit or miss depending on who you are and where you watch your games, because this guy's been in the league a long time. Should be higher on this list, you say. Well, so you think he's not talked about enough? I think Chara has some shouts, some love every now and then. No? I know.
Yeah.
I know we've shit on him on this show before. Don't get me wrong. I know it's happened, Xiaoyan. But like he's appeared on this show and Preki hasn't. Why should he be higher?
Dude, everything Diego Chara encompasses, he's just so good, man. The reason why I think he is so good is because how much I hate the guy because of how good he is.
Because
if he was on the Galaxy, if he was on LAFC, if he was on the glitz and glamour teams that win MLS Cup, or like let's say even Atlanta United, if he was on Atlanta United doing what he's doing now, if he was on LAFC doing what he's doing now, everybody would be talking about him. Everybody.
I don't know, though. He gets a lot of love, though, in terms of like respect. He gets
respect.
And in terms of, like, if we're talking about best defensive midfielders in MLS,
but he's never like talked in the GOAT categories.
Like, so who is then? If you've heard other shouts, who's talked about him ahead of him?
I know this is going to be very controversial, but people would argue Ozzy, for example. I think Ozzy's underrated. But Diego, dude, honestly, this guy, he was with the shit Portland team. He was with them at their highs. He's still there with them on their lows. Like, in my opinion, Diego Chara is the greatest center defensive mid in MLS history.
Is he the N'Golo Kante of
yes,
of MLS?
1,000%. But no one brings that up.
Yeah, I still kind of agree with AJ though. Like, people still give him the respect he deserves.
Respect, but there's a difference.
What's the difference?
That's the thing. Okay, yeah. Like, what's the difference?
Oh.
No, because I was about to interject and like help your case probably. But yeah.
The difference between respect and recognition is respect.
Oh, he's just about to go into it too.
I know. Oh, damn. But I mean, yeah, in terms of
it's on purpose. Like, okay, we're back.
There you
go. We're back. Go ahead.
The difference between respect and actual recognition. Respect is like everyone knows, like, oh, Diego Chara is a competitor. You know he's going to be a guy that's going to be competing at the top. You know he's going to be a tough battler. But to actually be someone that's recognized, like being awarded a Hall of Fame, or always being like, this is the best player and one of the best players in the league. He's one of the best midfielders in MLS. No one talks about Diego Chara as one of the greatest midfielders in MLS. In my eyes, I don't think so.
I actually,
To be fair-
I kind of agree with Xiao Yan, but go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, to be fair, not a lot of midfielders are getting a lot of lauding, a lot of plaudits. It just doesn't really happen in a league that's more focused on attacking, more focused on right now, of course, Messi, and so that's gonna overpower everything. I mean, yeah, there's a freaking poll today about the which goal is gonna be the best goal, and Messi's goal. Okay, his assist, incredible assist. But yeah, the Shonda Silva goal is far and away the better goal. So it's just that's just what it is. It's like the attack is always going to be more lauded. It's going to be given the the clickbait articles, the everything. I mean, it's just there's not MLS tackle of the week. There's not
Yeah. I mean, that's true. They should have that, by the way. I think it's a fantastic fucking segment idea, AJ. Dude, defenders need more love, bro. Tackles are an art. I don't give a shit what anybody says. It is an art to be good at tackling, especially in 1v1 scenarios. I don't want to, go too off topic here, but Saliba's tackle against Crystal Palace against Edward. Anyway, like that, bro. Like if you could, there needs to be there needs to be in all honesty, there needs to be a microscope in certain instances on defenders in those scenarios, because it's just as difficult as scoring a crazy opportunity, whatever that may look like, right? Like it requires just as much skill, if not more. So I don't know. I agree with AJ. It's hard for certain midfielders, especially a defensive mid. Like you would really have to watch Chara isolated, what he does on the ball and off the ball, to have the deepest respect for what he does.
And again, you get more attention for messing up as a defender than you do for doing well. So
facts. You can make every right as a keeper. You make every save in the book. You miss that one, it's over.
Yeah,
you had a bad game. So it is what it is. But Chara has almost 400 appearances. Like if people are not rating Diego Chara, holy shit, bro! Like you need to get out from under the rock that you live in and go watch.
Longevity on that is crazy.
Yeah, man.
And it's for one
club.
Team.
Yeah, one club.
The Francesco Totti of the MLS, 100%, bro. This guy he's got it. He's got all the appearances, all the longevity, and of course, at this point of his career, the accolades as well. He's seen the highs and the lows in Portland. It's just weird that you rate him so highly in this group, and he plays directly for your rivals. You just heard me shit on MLS or on Houston, even though Houston.
But you guys know, for the most part, I'm a realist.
Sure about that?
No, I don't
sure
want to.
about
You can't do I said for the
most.
No one's perfect. I said for the most part, I'm a realist.
No one's perfect.
That's true. I mean, for the most part, you are, and you do have. Even if you're not being 100%, even if there's a little bit of bias in there, you do have sound logic for most of your takes. Some of them are fucking wild.
But for me, Diego Chara, when we made this list, outside of Beta Shore, because justice for my Iranian boy that plays in MLS.
Yeah,
he's, I think, the definition of underrated for me at MLS. That's just when I think about the most underrated player since I've been watching MLS, it is Diego Chara. For me, that's just my opinion anyway.
I think the next pick will maybe thwart that argument a little bit more. Okay. We'll see. Okay. All right. So let's go into number 3. Number 3. Dwayne De Rosario.
Okay.
What?
This was tough. This was tough, Xiaoyang. This was tough. AJ's already confused. So let's start there, AJ. Why is Dwayne De Rosario not an underrated pick?
Not underrated because he has made our other lists, for one. 2, I mean,
I'm gonna go on record right now. My picks were never fucking De Rosario. It was Xiaoyan, and who else was it, bro?
I did.
It's gotta be John.
I did.
Gotta be John.
Yeah. It was
no way.
I'm gonna put that shit out there right now. Okay, go ahead.
He's way too fucking high on this list because basically, he's an all-time great. It's everybody knows that. If you paid attention, or even didn't even pay attention in the 2000s, about Dwayne De Rosario. It's one of these things. He makes probably at least every single list about the greatest MLS players ever.
Ching should be higher than De Rosario on this list right now. 100%.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I agree. Yeah. I think Chara, Ching, Beta Shore, just to name a few. I think some of those.
Let Beta Shore go, bro. Let it go. Okay, we understand. He was a great Iranian player, the best fullback to ever enter MLS.
The best right back to ever play in MLS. Get it right.
I don't know. I think Graham Zusi kind of has a shout for better player
and more versatile because he's technically a midfielder.
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking
Yeah.
about Dwayne or are we talking about Beta?
No, we're talking about Beta. Yeah.
Dude, come on,
Zusi
man. It's because
versus
he's
Beta.
American. It's 'cause he's
No, that's
American.
not
No, there's no American
why.
You
bias
guys
behind
love
that.
the USA. You guys aren't actual
Hey,
Elk
you're
Tree
talking
fans.
to the wrong guy when you say
I'm just
that. You're
kidding.
not
I'm just
talking
kidding.
about me. I know you're not talking about me.
I mean, look,
Hey,
Dwayne
man,
De Rosario.
there's only
look, there's a lot
there's
to
only
like
one
about
other
it.
MLS team's jersey that I have. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jose. I was just gonna say it's a Beta Shore Rapids jersey. I have all Sounders jersey, and then there's just 2 Beta Shore Rapids kits. Okay.
Okay, but that makes sense, all right? Not like Jose having a Messi jersey back there. So
All right, bro.
trying to
Look,
justify that
look.
shit.
It does make sense. I've watched. Okay, I guarantee you, I've watched Messi longer than any of you guys have watched any of your.
That's different.
Teams.
It's different.
Period.
It's different.
Dude, I've been watching
Period.
ever since I got introduced to MLS. I was watching Beta Shore.
We're moving past that. We're moving past that.
He just doesn't want to get played for it again. He's
I'm
been
done
getting it
with
for
that.
weeks. Literally
I'm done with
3 weeks in a
Beta
row. Not to mention
Um,
that welcome to the MLS picture that he's got back there with.
Oh, bro,
Dallas
I would take Messi and Dallas in a heartbeat. When the rumors were coming, I was praying. But let's be honest, bro. I mean, Miami was where it was always going to happen. But
Hey, I would take Beta Shore and Sounders in a heartbeat.
yeah, no, yeah, bro, that's easy. I don't know if that's
Hey,
comparable to Messi, but sure, yeah.
Fun fact, actually, back in 2016, in that off season, going into the 2016 season, Beta Shore, what he told me personally, he was close to signing with Seattle, but it just didn't happen.
That hurt.
When I heard that, yeah, I kind of died a little inside.
Well, anyway, we digress. Back to Dwayne De
Zero.
Rosario. I agree wholeheartedly with AJ, man. I think this guy has 13 MLS seasons. I think he's got more than a few hundred appearances. How many MLS Cups did he win?
I think 2. Right?
1 or 2?
One was with Houston. Was the other with Toronto?
No.
Let's see.
Couldn't have been. They've only won 1 MLS Cup, and that was with Beta.
Yeah, another plug. Yeah. Look, man, he's been named to MLS Best 11 at least 5 or 6 times. Like, there's absolutely no reason for De Rosario to be in here. Or if he's going to be in here, he just needs to be down there with like Eddie Pope and Kobe Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that probably would have been the next one up. Like Beta Jour needs to be, and not to reinforce the behavior from Xiaoyan, but yeah, he needs to be like way up there. You know what I mean? Along with Brian Chain.
For the record, 2 with Dynamo, 2 with Earthquakes.
Whoa, he's won 4 MLS Cups?
Yep.
He's won 4. Damn.
Dude, that's more than all of our franchises combined.
A top 10 MLS goal score with 104 goals. Dude, that's crazy as a midfielder. Like,
I think the only reason that
striker
makes him underrated is the incoming the Canadian fans, but it's kind of true. Is because he's Canadian.
Is this whole thing gonna be like a ethnicity bias episode? Like, yeah. Like, what are we doing, bro?
No. That is the reality of foot. Like, especially in MLS. That is the reality of football. Like, it's the same.
Especially in Canada, man. In Canada, it's kind of crazy, actually.
And like, but the thing is I don't think there's anything wrong with us talking about it when this is a hot topic, especially in the Premier League, for example. English bias, English tax with players. So I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it is a truth about football, soccer.
Americans overrating American players. Like, I think it's
every nation
though.
Every nation overrates their players as it is. It's every country. Every country does it.
And I would say like countries in South America outside of Brazil, I would say like Venezuela,
Mexico
Argentina.
I would argue the African nations, especially the African nations. I have not heard one like.
Yeah, I don't really hear about anybody.
But again, it's one of the things out of sight, out of mind. You don't see it because you just don't hear a lot of it.
Yeah, we also don't live in Africa, so that could be a point too.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like I see it with Mexican players
on social media. Yeah, I mean, Mexican players. I mean, in all honesty, man, Mexico is so bad about who they hype up.
They overhype everyone.
Everybody.
You can have one thing and
Nenny Castillo.
Nenny Castillo, bro. Oh my
Nenny
god.
Castillo for fact.
That guy lives rent free in my head now.
The Mexican
fact that you
Zlatan,
learned about him because of that, because of our recording.
If Zlatan never won anything in his life. All right. Yeah, that's basically what that is. So, but look, I mean, with De Rosario, the fact that he's top 3 in this list is like fucking wild to me. Someone needs to watch to this part of the episode and shit on us for having him this high on the list. Like, it really needs to be that bad. All right. Moving into number two. And this one, I think it's subjective. Let's see how the boys react.
No,
Kyle Beckerman. Kyle Beckerman. Kyle Beckerman. If you do not value sixes, man, the fact that he's higher than Diego Chara must really hurt Xiaoyan. I think it's got.
I think it just did. You just hurt his heart. Look at him.
Is it the American bias because he maybe like?
Yes, it all comes full circle. It all comes full circle.
Beckerman is. I mean, look. I mean, how much do you really know about Beckerman, Xiaoyan?
Dude, how would I not know about the guy? We hated him when Salt Lake would face off against the Sounders. We hated him.
For his hair or for like his actual gameplay?
No, we hated him because he was bad. He was bukkake bad. He was terrible.
He's not terrible. Beckerman's a hell of a defensive.
Dude,
Yo,
Beckerman. God.
Bukkake depends on who you ask, right? I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's all depending on I guess what side of that that coin you're on.
Yeah.
But
Dude, Beckerman is a mid CDM. I am sorry, he is mid as fuck.
Yeah, it's. I don't think he's underrated. I think he's rated a little too high by most lists and from optics.
Because he did well in the 2014 Brazil World Cup.
He's got almost 400 MLS appearances, bro.
I don't give a shit. Chara, Ozzy. Chara and Ozzy should be in this list higher than him.
To be fair, one guy that isn't on this list, and I'm surprised, Kai Kamara. He should be higher. Kai Kamara should be higher. And I blame myself because I didn't put him on the list. But Kai Kamara should be on this list.
Can I say it?
I agree. John, I am disappointed you for not putting him in the list. Of
Listen, I had to make that list quick because I thought I was not going to get.
Bro, he plays on your team today.
I know. I was going to put him there. I was going to put him high. I was holding him off.
It's not like you had to remember from like 10 years ago.
No. It's not even that though. It's like he just doesn't like. Again, Kyle Beckerman, more high reputation, more respected. Kai Kamara, it just isn't there. The thing is, Kai Kamara.
It's fair. Yeah, Kai Kamara should be on this list.
Kai Kamara is like my number 2 or 3.
Touch this list.
The reason why Kai Kamara should even be on this list is because he's so close to Landon Donovan's record. Like he's so he could break it this season. He's just shy of a few goals off.
Let me ask you this: If Beckerman had never had those stints, because I think John brought up a great point. I think he gets a ton of credit for his play because of the fact that he played for that what is it, the 2010 World Cup team?
2014.
Right? 2014, sorry, the Rio team. So, and look, he looked pretty good. I mean, everyone was excited about that Klinsmann squad and like everything else, right? So, like, he looked pretty damn good in that lineup. And I think a lot of fans remember him for that. But I don't think that they actually like remember all of the dirty work that he did in his Salt Lake days and in Major League Soccer.
If there was a DM, it wouldn't be him. I'm sorry.
In terms of what?
If I were to put a DM in the spot, like in number 2, this is not the DM I would pick.
No, it would be Chara. I mean, I think it has to.
And it would be Ozzy. I would almost.
Or actually, Alonso's a better shout. Alonso, people don't give enough credit for from Seattle. I think.
Well, it's also because of what's been, and AJ can agree to this. It's because of how bad these last couple of years have been with Atlanta.
That doesn't stain his legacy. I don't think.
I think it does a little.
He's been injured, and that's the thing. It's like
that's what I'm saying. Because of that,
he was really good. Yeah, and it's not like he's been bad because that's the thing. It's like when he's come on, like I've appreciated his play. Like he keeps things ticking. Like his positional awareness,
and he's got hair now.
He's got hair now. But dude, Aldo Alonso, dude, he's a mental monster. And like I think at the end of the day, like I don't know. I remember FC Dallas going out to Seattle and playoffs multiple times and a couple times in back-to-back years. And I always said it was due to that guy, his ability to break up play. It's for a team that back then was very counter heavy. Disastrous. Like he literally was like our kryptonite for both of those years that we exited to the Sounders in the playoffs. So I don't know. I think Alonso, if you know ball and you know Major League Soccer, he has to be up there, but he is underrated in the grand scheme of things. Right?
Yeah, Beckerman I think is rated fairly in my eyes. I think he is.
Yeah, he makes plenty of lists. It's because of his hair.
That's what I'm saying. He's like iconic, bro. If you take away the
it's like Alexi
Lawless national team.
It's like Alexi Lawless.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They're
the crazy hair, the American, like.
Yeah, but Lawless is like very visible now. I mean, Beckerman, what is he doing right now? Like where is he?
Probably fishing.
Yeah, he's probably doing something. I mean, he's enjoying retirement.
I don't know if you guys remember the old MLS. This is one of my favorites. Fun fact: as a kid, I've done so many fun facts, but I used to binge this series in MLS back in its day. But you guys remember MLS 36? when they would
MLS 30s.
they would like be with a player for 36 hours to the game day. Like they did one for Fagundes, Freddie Montero, Aurelian Collin.
Freddie's must have been good, I feel like.
Oh, Freddie's. That's when Sounders played against. I watched that shit on repeat 10,000 times because Freddie's one of my idols. But like I remember they did one on Beckerman too. Like so he got credit when he was playing back then too. Like he definitely was he was arguably the best. And I can say this because I watched him a lot during that time.
What, like 2009, 2010?
Yeah, like I started watching MLS like 2011, 2013, like during that. He was still really good.
They were still dominant. Yeah, Salt Lake was still dominant then. Yeah.
And like for him, I definitely think he got the recognition he deserved. Maybe not now. Again, I can understand the point where like when you talk about best DMs in MLS, Beckerman maybe isn't spoken about now. He's kind of a forgotten toy. He's not the squeaky, shiny, cool toy anymore. But like, I think Beckerman was rated. I think he was definitely compared to the other DMs.
Yeah, he still made it pretty high in this list. And it's kind of just weird. Again, a guy who's like almost a double-digit All-Star in terms of appearances. Like, I mean, you would think that he's almost overrated. But we've how many times have we said it, right? DMs, they just defensive mids just get no love, like defenders, like keepers.
How many individual accolades has Chara been given? When I think about it now, I don't think Chara's even been like he's been like one MLS All-Star team too.
Diego Chara. That's a great. Actually, that's something that we could probably like verify right now. I feel like he's gotten more than a few accolades. He has to, just with how long he's been in the league, dude. He's been playing.
Well, that's kind of on Portland Timbers and their fans a little bit. I mean, yeah, they're not voting him well enough.
But like when you think too about Portland, like you think about Valeri, Blanco, Fernando Adi. Like when RSL, you think of Ramondo Beckerman.
You think Ramondo, in my opinion, I think Ramondo first and then Beckerman.
No, sure, but I was just not in any chronological order. But like Javier
I would disagree about the Timbers though. It would be Valeri and Chara. Like those are the two that pop up in my mind. But I mean,
same
because Adi, I mean, good player, but I don't think shakes a stick at Chara.
I think Valeri and Chara because of longevity. Like I just like when I think about who we have to line up against if we're ever going to Portland, it's like those two guys come to my mind instantly.
Really? I'm surprised. I really hated Sebastian Blanco.
All right, boys. I think that's a fair shout. These two out of these three, man, just fucking off the wall. Like I said, I think this is our widest and most contentious list up to this point on this show. All right. So now, with that said, the first one. He was number 2 for me. He was number 1. Or was he number 1 for AJ? I think he was number 1 for you. We'll find out here in a second. Number 1, the number 1 most underrated player, considering what he's achieved, the era that he played in, all factoring in heavily. Jaime Moreno.
Who the hell is this guy?
No, I looked
exactly.
This guy is crazy.
Dude,
on this guy is crazy.
Moreno was the OG. I don't know if there was an Erling Haaland of MLS 1.0, it was this fucking guy.
I'm excited. Another learning lesson today for me. He's going into the catalog with Nenny Castillo.
No, what? Don't.
No, not in that regard. Like in regards to like players that I've never heard of.
Talking about a guy that scored 133 goals in MLS, comparing him to Nenny Castillo is crazy.
No, not compare. I'm just saying in regards to players I've never heard of.
No, even mentioning them in the same sentence is
my bad.
For those who are not aware, Jaime Moreno is the all-time leader in games played, games started, minutes played, goals, minute to goal per game ratios, and game-winning goals in history.
How have I never heard of this dude?
Yeah, Jaime Moreno.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. MLS 1.0 was part of DC United's, I guess, inaugural MLS Cup in '96. What nationality is he?
Bolivian.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I wonder how good Bolivia was back in the late '90s, early 2000s. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he had to have been one of the first names that you think of, right? Considering how successful he was, and even if it was MLS 1.0. But the fact that Shayan just had no idea who this guy was and how successful he's actually been, I think it makes all the case in the world for why he needs to be number 1. Let me ask you guys something that I'm really kind of curious about, because for me, I had him the highest. He was my number 1, Jaime Moreno. Is there someone, whether they're on this list or not, that you think is more of an underrated player than someone as accomplished as Jaime Moreno? Stop. We're not making Kamara. Bro.
No, I'm being serious. I'm being serious.
Why?
Why? Because he's the only player to score with 10 different clubs in MLS. Not only that, but he's
That
also
is a
close to
crazy
breaking that
cool
record.
stat.
It's
Yeah, but
a
how many
crazy
players
stat
have
to
played
have.
MLS clubs? That's like a stat
Yeah,
padding.
but it's not stat padding though, because he
That's
did
not
really
stat
well at
padding.
all.
You know what stat padding is? It's like there's a ridiculous stat that nobody could ever achieve because nobody's ever played for 10 MLS clubs. And you're like, oh, he's the first.
But
10th player to
that
play
should
for
be
10
credit
MLS
to
clubs.
him though, that he can adjust to so many teams and be fit for this long to be able to do something. Why are you getting mad?
Okay,
He was the
yeah.
joint top. He was the joint top goal scorer.
I'm not agreeing with
Sebastian
John. I'm just
Giovinco.
helping him out.
It would be this.
No,
Okay.
in that 2015 season, when Giovinco was in the league, he was joint top goal scorer as well. So it's not like he did it against average sides. You know what I
Like
mean?
Jaime Moreno.
You're talking about teams that weren't as good. And in 2015, you could argue that MLS teams in 2015 were a lot better than they were back then.
So if
It's not
Kai
really
Kamara, okay, if he did this, this would be the, I think, the delineating factor. If he had scored 10 goals with all of the teams that he was with, like that would be some impressive stat. But he scored a goal with 10 clubs.
Hey,
Who cares?
can't hate the player, hate
yes.
the game. Can't hate the player, man. Hey,
Hey,
gotta
but even
respect-
I'm
even
just saying
even
it's
even
a
at his
stat that
current
maybe
age, though.
5 people
But
qualify
yeah, but
for.
even
You know
at
what
his
I mean?
current age, he scored 5 goals for us. He at the beginning of the season, he was starting a lot of games because we couldn't get any of our strikers firing. So he was a very important part at his age.
This sounds
right
like
now.
this sounds more like the king of mediocreness. Like king
I
of
wouldn't say
mediocrity.
that.
I wouldn't
Like,
say I
it's
wouldn't go
just-
that far. Only I mean that stat. I'll be honest, John. That stat, that whole 10 clubs thing is it's so mediocre. But
Yeah,
No,
but okay,
I
but
think
he's
that's
close.
great.
Okay, but he's close to catching up Landon Donovan. That's you
I
also got to
agree.
say something
The
about
third
that.
highest goal scorer in MLS history. That's a fantastic stat for this.
Yeah.
I think the 10 clubs is like, dude. Like either your coaches fucking hated you and nobody liked you, couldn't work with you, couldn't play. They had to keep moving you on. But like that stat is just wild to me. But Kai Kamara was technically, because of his longevity, 4 goals ahead of Jaime Moreno. So like I think that there's minutes played, number of goals scored. There's definitely something there for Kai Kamara. I don't know if he's higher than Moreno, but he definitely should be on this list. John, you need to be massively disappointed in yourself, bro. Massively.
Yeah,
disappointed in
dude, I'm literally kicking myself right now because he should be on here. He should be on here.
Yes,
He should be on here. I mean,
he should
guys,
be in there over Dwayne De Rosario for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Do you think, and maybe his record-setting year factors into why he's not an underrated player, but I still feel like not a lot of people talk about Wando that much.
I was thinking about this too. I wasn't sure to put me. Okay, I'm like this, Jose, because I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. It's just like dude,
It's
I know
because of
he's
his-
like the winningest or the most like the highest scorer in
Because of his
MLS
miss
history.
against Belgium. That is literally why. It is
Probably.
the reason why.
You really
But
think
it's
the US
also-
MNT fans are still bitter about that?
Oh, what? Yeah, dude, I'm still
Yeah,
bitter.
100%
We're
there.
all bitter about World Cup stuff. Who isn't?
But
Fair.
yeah, I mean, I think Wando, his thing is that he gets enough plaudits because of where he's at with the goal record, right? And that's it. Like that's what he deserves. Like he's not really a player that I think everyone is saying, yeah, he belongs in the best ever list, or he's underrated. Like, oh man, you know what? He doesn't get talked about enough. He doesn't make enough lists. Like, no,
It actually doesn't
it's
even get
really
talked about at all.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really
mean, it's
doesn't.
just
It's
like-
crazy because he does have
he
two
doesn't deserve
MLS Cups to his name.
Yeah,
Does he?
Like yeah, he does. He has 2 with Houston.
that's crazy.
He
What
was a
about
part
you?
of the Goonies Never Die squad with Steven Betashore. So
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I will say this with Wando. It's just like it's just I don't know. I mean, maybe he's not a sexy pick, right? Maybe he's like
He's not.
He's just like
And
a
again,
consistent.
could be
scorer
the name
season in, season out.
too.
The what? The Wondolowski?
Yeah, just because it's a Polish descendancy, I believe.
It is. He's technically a dual nat between U.S. and Poland.
Yeah, kind of could be a similar point to same thing with Brian Ching.
It could be. It could be. I mean, I look at you even look at the top scorers list. You think that the fact that he's ahead of Landon Donovan would just put him in a ton more conversations, especially when you think about I'm sure a greatest goal scorers in MLS history, list is going to appear on this show at some point. And I'm really curious to see, like, you know, prior to this stat popping up, like, how many of us would have rated Donovan higher than Wando?
Personally, I think Landon Donovan's overrated, but that's just me.
Maybe we need a top 10 overrated list. I wonder where Landon Donovan would factor in there. I don't know about overrated. I mean, the guy did kind of do it all for MLS and won everything there is to win. There's literally the MVP trophies named after him.
There's a little bit of like a slight hate I have to Landon Donovan. That's all.
Yeah, I think
that's probably it. Because Donovan far and away a better player than Wando in terms of overall player. It's just I
just don't like how much the American fans rate him when he just was shit in Europe. Like, okay, he's like an MLS merchant. Like, I don't know if he was that good. How did he not cut it out for one of the European teams he played? That's what I'm saying.
Or the Mexican team. It's abroad in general.
But to the point though, like Wando never could really. He only scored 11 goals. I think. How many goals did he score for the national team? Was it not that many?
But he didn't get a ton
for
of
the
crazy
US.
looks.
He's the all-time leading goal scorer with Dempsey.
Is he?
Yes.
That doesn't sound right.
It is right.
That doesn't
Him
sound
and
right.
Dempsey have 57 goals.
He's got 11
for the
goals.
U.S. men's national team.
Yes, Wanda's got 11 goals.
One allows.
Oh, Wanda. Sorry, I thought we were talking about Donovan. I apologize.
No, not Donovan. I'm talking about Wanda.
That was confusing. I was like, no way.
Sorry,
you're trolling right now, bro.
No, sorry.
No, it's talking about Wanda.
Yeah, but a double-digit goals is still not bad. But like I think even if you're just like Xiaoyan said, an MLS merchant as a fan, that this is the only league you watch, I think it's almost criminal that Wando isn't like brought up a ton more. And you know, you could argue that he deserves a spot ahead of Moreno on this list. Although I will say, maybe not ahead because I don't think. I mean, Xiaoyan didn't even know who this guy was.
I like the Jaime Moreno pick. I think he should be number one. Funnily enough, I said Diego Chara, but I'm willing to accept because I've never even heard of this dude.
To this point, though,
that should be the winner.
To this point, 4 MLS Cups. He's got 4 MLS. He's got 4 supporter shields.
What are we talking
2
about?
Open
What are you talking about?
Talking about Moreno.
Yeah,
he has 4 MLS Cups, 4 MLS supporters.
Yeah, and 2 Open Cups.
I mean, it's the beginning of MLS, so you know it's a
little
bit.
And maybe that's why. I think it's the era. Eras are massively
AJ hates Bolivians. Confirmed.
I think that's it, man. It's eras play a massive factor in this, and recency bias is undefeated. I think when you compare strikers, people always say, "Oh, Moreno couldn't have done that in this version of MLS," right?
I hate that comparison, but he was the trend. Like.
He set the trend for what a goal scorer should be, and more importantly, DC United fans honestly should be lauding this guy because, frankly, that club, I'm not gonna say they're dog shit now, but they're trying to come back to where they were. They haven't been, a good team in years, right? So I don't know. I think that when you think about DC United being kind of a legacy in MLS, especially as a 1.0 club, Jaime Moreno you could attribute almost all that early success to him and guys like Eddie Pope. Mm-hmm. So, all right, boys. That's pretty much it. That is our list for the top 10 most underrated players. Now, before we go, I am going to mention some of the names. We had a crazy long list of guys.
Oh, I'm excited to hear this.
All right, so I'm going to go through kind of this like 5 at a time. All right, so bear with me here. Let's look at the first 5, the ones who made the honorable mentions right after Eddie Pope on the top 10 list. The next 5: Jimmy Nielsen, Tim Melia, Nemanja Nikolic, Carlos Ruiz. I don't know how Carlos Ruiz did it. Carlos Ruiz should have been higher.
Did you say Nikolic?
Yeah.
Nikolic, yes.
Why? Why is that like...
He was crazy good for the Fire. I don't want...
For one season.
I was like, why?
Okay.
Carlos Ruiz.
Dude, you put Nikolic over Kai Kamara, John. Like, what the
No,
fuck?
he was low on the list. No, Nikolic is low on the list. I was going to put Kai Kamara there. I was just like, okay, I'm going to fill this list out. I'm putting him in there.
John was in a rush, bro. He made it clear earlier. All right, and then after Carlos Ruiz, Kai Kamara, and Michael Parkhurst. I didn't watch Parkhurst. I don't know. I can't contribute to that conversation a lot. Carlos Ruiz, though, man, glory days with the Galaxy. Had some deep runs in the playoffs with FC Dallas. I don't think anybody talks about Carlos Ruiz in terms of like South American players who've come up and made this league better. It's amazing that he doesn't get more shouts. But Kai Kamara, boys, was at number 4 on the honorable mention. John, shake your head, man. Shake your head, bro.
How? Honestly.
Yeah, that one was bad.
Jimmy Nielsen.
Yeah, but it's the fact that you guys agree with it too, that he should have been on the list, and then you didn't put him there.
He's
I
top
put
5
him-
scorers all time. How could he be underrated?
Because no one talks about him.
I put him on my
Who
list, John.
talks
All
about
right,
Kai
I'm the
Kamara?
true Chicago Fire
Okay,
fan
but to be
here.
fair, he's been on this show at least twice before already.
And that
Because
was
we
thanks
brought
to
the
me.
only reason you brought him up is because of me.
Whoa,
That's legit the only
whoa,
reason
whoa!
because
I
the only
brought
one to
him
bring
up one at the time.
Okay, you guys can argue about who's the bigger Kai Kamara fan later. All right, all I'm saying is that, like, at the end of the day, he's appeared on the show before. There are a lot of names that were first timers in terms of cameos on this show, and I don't know, man. I think if there was ever a homer pick for a Fire fan, Kai Kamara was there for the taking.
I think Jimmy Nielsen should have been in over Nick Raimondo. That was my pick.
You know what? Nick Romando's a pretty talked about name, so I'll give that a good shout because frankly, I don't even know enough about Nielsen to talk about it. But
Dude, I used to hate playing against him because he was so fucking good.
yeah. Next 5: Sean Johnson, Stephen Fry.
He shakes
Who
his
could
head
that
at
be?
7-5.
So hold on.
Let's
Let's go into the Stephen
Johnson.
Fry piece of it a little because you said on this show previously, and I can go back and maybe like pull up the exact quote, right? But I think you said that Stephen Fry was
arguably the greatest goalkeeper in MLS history.
but you wanted to put him to like the GOAT conversation, period, didn't you?
Yeah, he should
Yeah,
be
he
in the
did.
GOAT conversation, but he's not.
How can he be in the GOAT conversation and the most underrated player at the same time?
Because no one says it except for me.
That's false. Every Sounders
That's
fan says
fucked
it.
up.
All right.
Okay, well then there you go. Okay, every Sounders fan
Okay,
minus everyone else.
So why did you shake your head at Sean Johnson?
Dude, come on, bro. Are you joking me? Sean fucking Johnson? What about
It's just a
Sean Johnson
question.
makes him I'm asking you now. What makes Sean Johnson better than Stephen Fry or Jimmy Nielsen?
Has he made a MLS best 11? Sean Johnson.
No, well, actually, maybe he might have.
I don't know if he has.
Dude,
I mean,
Sean
and
Johnson's so mid.
I mean,
Dude,
obviously, yeah, exactly. He
like
won
the
MLS
B,
Cup. But
he's like the
that's-
C
yeah.
Tech. He's the C Tech fucking Andre Blake, bro. Like, get the fuck out of here.
I mean, a good goalkeeper, but in terms of like
And keep
He
in
is
mind
fine.
that is the prerequisite here. We're not just throwing out
Hey,
names
he
of
did
players
win
that nobody's
MLS
ever
Cup
heard of. They had to have
MVP,
been
though.
good and not
He
talked
did
about.
win MLS Cup MVP as a goalkeeper.
Dude, Stephen Fry's done that too, bro. He did it first.
But that's the argument. I think Stephen Fry is actually like pretty well respected and decently talked about.
Again, respected is a difference.
Maybe I'm being biased because I lived in Seattle for more than a few years, but like at the end of the day, like I just remember like, dude, people getting their rocks off to like Stephen Fry saves, and I'm like he's good. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like the GOAT keeper by any means, but he's good, you know. I don't know. I honestly would put Kevin Hartman ahead of Stephen Fry if you remove trophies.
I actually kind of agree with that one.
Yeah, I think Kevin Hartman was
That's a good
wild.
shout.
I couldn't believe he came to FC Dallas so late in his career. I would have loved to see him there like a couple.
Throwback
years
to when
earlier.
Zusi scored that like 50-yard free kick on him.
Oh,
I don't know if
God.
you remember that.
Yeah. Hartman though was, I think most people know him for his time with the Galaxy, but I think like at the end of the day, like he's
Oh, he was
I
so
don't
good
know,
for
man.
Dallas.
Yeah, but he came dude, like in his last 2 or 3 seasons. It's like, and it's a keeper, so they have more longevity. But I don't know, man. He was the other keeper in my list. It was him and Raimondo. I had Hartman higher, obviously. But yeah, man. I think outside of that, let's see, Dax McCarthy, Piatti, Taylor
Ooh.
Twellman, David Ferreira, the Ferreira 1.0, not 2.0 with Jesus. Dude, I don't give a shit what anybody says. He is underrated.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
he
agree.
carried a 2010 FC Dallas side to the MLS Cup final by himself. People will say Breck Shea, but Breck Shea didn't do shit in playoffs that year. Like he was just there. You know what I mean? Chad Marshall way down this fucking list. Marcelo
He shouldn't be in this
Balboa,
list.
Lucho Acosta. We talked about it a little bit. Like Lucho
Yeah, we did
Acosta
Should
needs.
be on this list.
He is currently one of the most underrated players in MLS. I don't think anybody can debate that. Where is he on the scorers list right now in MLS
Pretty
this
high up
season?
there.
He won didn't he get the most assists last year in MLS?
I think he was up there. I don't know if it was the most assists. But dude,
Either
Let's
way.
see.
I mean,
Argentine
his
players
problem
are ballers,
obviously,
bro.
his problem obviously is that he's never been, except for this year, really been on teams that were good.
Hey,
So
once he becomes
hasn't
American.
won
Hey,
shit.
Lucho's just behind Hani Mukhtar. So
But no
by
one
a goal.
talks about it. I didn't even know
no
that.
one, yeah.
Yeah, but even on this show, we don't rate Hani Mukhtar that high. I've seen Xiaoyan shit on Nashville. Ernan shit on Nashville last time he was on. I think like for whatever reason,
We
don't
weren't
put a-
shitting. To clarify, we weren't shitting on Hani Mukhtar. We just said that if Hani Mukhtar doesn't play well, Nashville doesn't play well.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
what we
why.
said.
Yeah, but you also said that they don't have potential because of that. They don't have potential to make a deep run to playoffs. Which I
No,
disagree. I think
no,
he's an
I
X factor.
said-
For that reason, they'll go far.
I said that you can't rely on one player to be the backbone of your whole
Where
team.
was Hani Mukhtar in the Leagues Cup final, huh?
Okay.
Mhm.
He was in the Leagues Cup
See,
final
did
though.
Nashville-
against
did-
Messi FC, bro.
Did he win the Leagues Cup?
Okay, bro.
Did he score in the league?
Messi beat everybody. He beat
Dude, I'm
everybody. He's
just
literally the
kidding. I
greatest
don't
player
give-
of all time.
I don't give a shit about Hani Mukhtar. I would okay. Seattle Sounders apparently were really close to signing Hani Mukhtar before he went to Nashville, or like when he was at Nashville after like a year or two, we almost could have signed him, and then we fumbled the bag. So F our team.
Yeah, that's a huge L that the Sounders took because Mukhtar would have, I think, revolutionized that entire. He would have been your go-to player easily, like he would be for most teams in MLS. Outside of that, guys, other big standouts: Kevin Hartman, Jason Christ, and Ozzy Alonso.
Dude, I
Jason-
can't believe Ozzy's just being mentioned.
Yeah, dude. I mean, to be fair, you're the only one that really mentioned him in the list. But now again, I think when we think of best players, you think of like teams that won, who those goal scorers were, the playmakers were. Nobody thinks about who the shot stoppers were, who the defenders were, who was breaking up plays in the middle of the field.
Unless the
Like,
defender scored, or
no one thinks about that. They think about the moments, right? The moments that everybody kind of remembers. The goal, the score line actually changing. So, yeah, man, it just kind of is what it is. But I will say this: Alonso probably, in my opinion, top 3 pivots or defensive mids in MLS history. I think you have to put him up there with the likes of Chowda and Beckerman. So. Yeah, man. All in all, guys, fantastic fucking list. We had more to talk about than I honestly thought we were going to for this episode, if we're being frank. We'll have, I think, a much less contentious topic on the agenda for Wake Up MLS episode number 8. But before we wrap up, any last minute shouts? Anybody that you guys were expecting to see in here before we go? No? We're all spot on?
John,
All right,
Kai
boys.
Kamara. I should have had Kai Kamara.
No, even Dax
disappointed,
McCarthy.
bro.
I think
No, Dax
should've
McCarty
got-
was such a good fucking shout.
Yeah, Dax McCarthy should have gotten more love than I think anyone. Was I the only one that put him on there?
Yeah,
I
but
didn't even think
I wouldn't
about
say
that.
more love than anybody. To me, it's that award goes to Kai Kamara.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But I'm saying like Dax McCarthy for the longevity.
But
amount
dude,
of
speaking
years
of
he's played in the
Dax
league.
McCarty, the L that dude, honestly, I thought it was such an L when he posted, "Oh, at least I got Messi's jersey." Like, dude, that's like
Oh.
such small.
Yeah.
weenie-
That's the most MLS mentality ever, I think.
I know that's such small weenie energy, bro.
Oh,
Come on, well, it's okay. I got Messi's jersey. Dude, who the fuck cares, man?
Facts, bro.
When
Facts.
When Messi comes to Seattle, I'm selling my tickets. I don't give a shit about seeing Messi play. Dude,
Oh,
who the
I
fuck
don't
is
want to go that
guy?
far. That Chao, you're alone on
Yeah,
that.
that's a
boat.
little wild,
but
but
I
yeah.
will say,
I mean, I paid a lot of money to go see him play. So there's
yeah.
that.
But I will say this as a player, I would have treated him like I would have treated most players, and that's that I'm there to fucking win. Like I don't. We can
Like,
talk and
dude.
bullshit afterward, but like at the end of the day,
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
there's no
if it was
respite.
Beta
in-
Shore, whole different story, man. I get it.
All right, bro. On that fucking note, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. If you guys tuned to this part of the episode, if you got this far, thank you very much. We appreciate you. And look, I'm sure you guys disagree with these picks. I think underrated is so subjective because you had to have watched them played. They had to have been good talent-wise on the pitch, and then that last little piece, right, of just not being talked about. With Major League Soccer being so new globally, there's going to be a lot of players that fall into this category. So this is our top 10. If you disagree, let us know in the comments down below. If you haven't done so already, like the video. Outside of that, my name's Jose. That's John. That's Xiaoyan. That's AJ. We'll catch you guys next time.